Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at Fulgrim on the tabletop. This video is sponsored by the Game Bunker. More on that later. So yesterday we took a look at the design of Fulgrim and what went into him. Today we're going to take a look at his actual performance on the tabletop. Fulgrim versus the world. How good is the Phoenician on the tabletop? The Demon Primarch of the Emperor's Children is up to his old tricks. But we've heard some corpse worshipping Imperial sorts whispering that Fulgrim's best years are behind him. He's not that scary, they cry. He's not even meta. Absolute tosh. You don't get labeled the perfect son without the deeds to back it up, and Fulgrim is the best at anything he puts his hand to. To prove it, we broke out the old dice, put him up against some of the same feasts as his rival brothers. Will he break a sweat, and how will that smell? Alright, so we're going to have him face off against some various different opponents on the tabletop and see how he performs. So we have Test 1, Tackling a Titan. Back in the murkiness of 9th edition Warhammer 40,000, we took a new avatar of Cain out for a test run by establishing the size of his opponents he could topple. The Bolton Maniac put out an impressive tally of damage, and we found that, with a spot of luck, he could cut a Warhound Titan down, but can Fulgrim compete? Outstandingly so, as a combination of his Strength 14, D6+1 damage, and the Fight's First ability makes Fulgrim a thoroughbred Titan killer. He can drop a Warhound Titan in a single, albeit lucky turn. Better still, the ability to deep strike means he's always getting up close to the target, and his other abilities mean he will stick around a lot longer than the Eldari Immolator in Chief to finish the job. So unfortunately they don't talk about like the actual specifics of this, but basically Fulgrim has fights first, so you would always presume that he's either charging, or even if he gets charged, he's going to be fighting first. We don't know if there's any command point rerolls or how many times they run it back, but we can get an overall impression as to what's viable for him to kill. And in this case, a Titan potentially in one round of combat. So Fulgrim versus Warhound Titan, winner is Fulgrim. Test 2, Knockout a Primarch. It's foundational lore that Fulgrim caused Royalty Guilliman's extended convalescence with a blade to the chin, but his brothers haven't been keeping up on the loyalist killing duties. The Lion managed to beat up Angron, Mortarion had his triumph stolen by the revived Guilliman, and Magnus has been too tricksy to pin down. Could Fulgrim do better? Almost certainly. The Primarch of the Ultramarines proves no challenge against the almighty son of Slaanesh, while the Lion at least put up an action-packed duel in which several swings were turned aside by Fulgrim's beguiling form. Though the Lion's sword fealty is more deadly weapon than Fulgrim's, the Demon Prince's defensive abilities reduced a significant portion of the incoming damage. Poison is eventually what brought down the Lion. So winner, Fulgrim by a lion's whisker. So again here we don't know exactly how they tested this, as the Lion also has fights first, so presumably whoever's going to be charging, the other person's going to fight first. And then they also didn't talk about if that includes Guilliman standing back up and then charging into combat, or how that works. But again, Fulgrim is the winner. Test 3, his weight into Guardsmen, actually Space Marines. This time we're upping the stakes. Angron messily butchered his way through about 50 Guardsmen without so much as blinking. But Fulgrim is far too important to be sullying his blade with such puny mortals. Space Marines, however, are another prospect. Was this because his wide sweeping attacks are better at killing models with 2 wounds? Yes. Fulgrim took on the combined power of 23 intercessors, and barely even realized he'd killed them in one turn. With 12 attacks on his sweep profile, with another 6 from his prehensile tail, the Phoenician is a mook murdering machine. Winner, Fulgrim. Alright, so potentially chopping down 23 intercessors in a single round? Not sure exactly how he pulled that off with only 18 attacks. He has the poison, which could do a few more damage on top of that, but definitely a marine slaying machine. Test 4, the Wall of Filth. We usually end these by putting our hero up against the toughest brick wall of a warrior we can find, Mortarion, and today is no exception. Neither Angron nor the Avatar could seriously lay a glove on Nurgle's least favorite champion, and the Lion was too tuckered out from his fight on Wormwood. Can Fulgrim clinch it? Kind of. Even though Mortarion's legendary durability let him survive long enough to swing back, Fulgrim's defensive tricks forcing -1 to hit rolls bought him enough time to strip almost all of the foe's 16 wounds. Mortarion did send him wheeling back to the warp in the second round with a few hot dice, but the demonic poisons ravaging his system caused him to keel over shortly afterwards. Winner, technically a draw, but Fulgrim was cooler, so he wins. Now a quick word from today's sponsor, Game Bunker. Game Bunker carries a full range of Games Workshop products, including miniatures, terrain, paint, tools, and more. Game Bunker offers 15% off MSRP for most Games Workshop products with the discount code WHMS. Receive free shipping in the continental United States on orders over $145. Online orders ship out within 24 hours. Game Bunker is a veteran-owned business. Use affiliate link below, enter discount code WHMS to save 15% on most items at checkout. For fast, friendly service with a discount on your favorite tabletop wargaming purchases, visit GameBunker.net and let them know that Warhammer Man sent you. Alright, so very cool. Obviously, Fulgrim is a damage-dealing machine. You're going to want to put him into things that are ideally targets for him to kill most effectively. So obviously, in this case, one really big target or a bunch of 2-wound models. He's also extremely fast with his movement of 16 and his ability to fly. Should be able to get him into position wherever he needs to be. He also has deep strike. The fights first is obviously massive because he's always going to be fighting first whether he charged or gets charged. Unless, of course, he charges someone like the Lion who also has fights first, in which case the defending player with fights first would actually fight first. But realistically, knowing this, you're probably not going to make that happen. Or you're going to do some janky tricks, especially because the Lion's going to be staying within 3 inches of somebody, so he has lone op. So you're going to ideally charge a unit like that and then attempt to pile in and tag the Lion after you've already activated, foregoing his fights first ability. But that's a big brain play and sometimes difficult to pull off. There, incontrovertible evidence that Fulgrim is truly the greatest demon Primarch to slide the galaxy. And a compelling argument to add him to your collection when his glistening new miniature goes up for pre-order this Saturday. So I will definitely be adding Fulgrim to my collection. I don't think he's necessarily the most optimized choice for a competitive Slaanesh army of the Emperor's Children, but I don't think that it means he's not going to be in any competitive lists that do well. I think for me, the biggest comparison is that if he's about 400 points and then also 3 Mauler Fiends are 400 points, you're going to get substantially more wounds with the Mauler Fiends and the ability to dish out more damage. And in an army that overall has a problem with doing like high damage strikes or high damage shooting, I think you're going to want more than one source of it. It doesn't mean that you can't take him alongside some Mauler Fiends, but I think for around the same price, I would probably rather have 3 advancing and charging Mauler Fiends, slapping into my opponent's lines, especially while they're already tied up with some of my scout and infiltrators, sticking objectives, and just overall putting high pressure on them. I do think the Emperor's Children are going to be really fun to play. You're definitely going to have to use your big brain players. You're definitely going to have to get some reps in with them, and you're going to have to use some big brain plays to take down certain armies. But I think overall, they're pretty good. They play like they should in the lore. Fulgrim is absolutely awesome. The rest of the line is amazing as well. But I think there's some areas where they're lacking. I don't think that they're going to be overall broken and just sweeping through the meta. I do think there's probably going to be some points changes at some point in time, as a couple of the units are just not efficient for their points cost and not really going to be as viable as they should be on the tabletop. I think for me, the most glaringly obvious thing is that comparing something like 8-bound or Exalted 8-bound to the Flawless Blades, they just don't quite do the thing that they're supposed to do. With 8-bound, you know they're going to run across the table extremely quickly and kill something extremely durable with no problem. With something like the Flawless Blades, you're going to struggle to kill the things that you want to kill with them, and then you're going to have no problem killing the things that you don't really want to kill with them. And it's going to be very difficult to get like your points out of them in most scenarios. I do think there's going to be some ways to play around it. I do think the Flawless Blade models are absolutely amazing, and I'm definitely going to put them on the table. But I think they either need like 1 or 2 more attacks apiece, or probably just to be a little bit cheaper. Especially when I compare them to something like Blade Guard Veterans or 8-bound, they just don't seem like they do the thing they're supposed to do in an optimized way. And if you do go all out to make them absolutely amazing, you're going to have to slot in something like Lucius in a squad of 6 Flawless Blades. And at that point in time, you've got a massive brick that's extremely expensive, that's definitely going to be a pain to deal with and going to be able to take down just about anything. But again, it's probably just going to get shot off the table immediately or killed in combat. So overall, I think that there's some really good options in the new Emperor's Children. I think the models are absolutely amazing. Fulgrim is beautiful. I cannot wait to paint mine up. I've been building them slowly but surely, and I'm going to be leaning in on them over the next couple of months to get them ready for the tabletop. Let me know if you too are excited about the Emperor's Children, if you've been getting in some reps, if you're building or painting yours, what models you're going to be picking up, and if you're going to be running Fulgrim in your army. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments, and as always, special thanks to the Game Bunker for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products with code WHMS at checkout. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.